want to know what the most surprising thing you've learned from one myth that you've applied to a completely different myth.
Oh, that's a good one, yeah.
You know, early on in the show, we were doing a thing called explosive decompression. And this is a myth that if you're in a plane that's under pressure at altitude and you fire a bullet through the fuselage, everything in the plane is going to get sucked through that tiny hole, or the window's going to blow out. It actually turns out to be total bull. The plane can actually withstand the loss of an entire window without losing cabin pressure. But we wanted to test this. We actually found a boneyard of planes down in the Mojave Desert that was going to allow us, this plane had already had all its avionics stripped, and now it was being recycled, and they were just going to allow us to accelerate the recycling process with explosives. But we had to get this plane up to pressure, which means that we had to plug up a whole bunch of the windows, and we called them up, and they said, you won't be able to do it. You won't be able to do it. And we thought, maybe we can do it. So I went down on a reconnaissance mission to this guy whose job was taking apart planes, putting them back together. He said, you won't be able to do it. You won't be able to do it. And I looked at everything, and I called up Jamie, and I went through my notes and what I was thinking, and we thought, you know what, we think this guy's wrong. We think that we can totally do it. And 3 days later, we totally did it. There's a way in which neither of us has science or engineering degrees. Jamie's got a degree in Russian, and I've got a high school diploma. But we've had enough exposure around things to gain an intuition into how things work, that, being able to trust those instincts is one of the single most rewarding things about doing this show. There was so much fun to watch that guy's expression when we got that plane up to 8 PSI with a bunch of plywood stuck in the window.
Yeah, the other thing in general about, learning something in one experiment and applying it to another, it's we sort of have this, the one that stands out most is regarding safety, and that is that we pretty much have a rule now from watching all the things that we've seen go down, is that if we feel like running, we're going to run.
Commensurate with that, if you see us on the street and we're running, do your best to keep up.
How about over here?
I'm James Gussman with Hilton and Worldwide, and I've always wanted to know from each of you, what is your most personally harrowing experience on the show, your most danger that you felt each individually?
I got a good one for that. It's coming up, actually. Years ago, we did a myth called Sinking Car. How to escape from a car that's sinking in the water. I took a car and we dumped it in a pool a bunch of times while I, in street clothes, escaped from it in a whole bunch of different ways. Jamie was my safety diver. A lot of people told us it was the most frightening episode they ever had to watch because it's a lot of people's phobia to be in a car that goes in the water. But it turns out, subsequent to filming that most cars, when they go in the water, they don't sink in an upright position. They actually, because they're engine heavy and they've got momentum, they actually do what's called turning turtle. They go all the way upside down when they sink. And apparently, it's much more disorienting. So it's been on our list for a long time to revisit the sinking car, the underwater car myth, by making a car turn turtle. And we did it about 3 months ago up in Ione, California, this quarry lake we film at a lot. And we set in motion a whole bunch of safety procedures. We buttoned down everything. I had a safety diver in the car. We had several different sources of breathable air in the car. And I have to say that when that car went over and upside down, not only didn't it do it in any kind of friendly way, it actually lurched 3 times as it went down. But the car was formerly owned by a smoker. It was like 300 cigarette butts in the ashtray. I'm not exaggerating. And when that car filled up with water, the water turned into coffee. And I couldn't see my safety diver, he couldn't see me, and the safety divers outside the car couldn't see into the car. The last thing that ended up saving me was that I had breathable air strapped to my shoulder. I had 1 minute of air on my shoulder. And as soon as I couldn't see and I couldn't get out of the car because it was still sinking, I went to my breathable air and I reached my hand down, and my safety diver I just grabbed him, and he felt my hand and slapped the regulator into it. Unfortunately, because we were upside down, the regulator was upside down. And anybody who goes diving knows that an upside down regulator brings a lot of water to the equation. So I took a big wet breath, realized what was happening, did the last thing I wanted to do in the world, which is to pull the regulator back out of my mouth, turn it over, popped it back in, told myself to calm down and wait for the car to settle, which it did after one more lurch. And in the end, everything worked just beautifully, but absolutely by far was the most frightening thing that's ever happened to me.
Yeah, there's a funny thing that we have experienced doing those shows. A lot of times we're, like we did in that case, engineering something that our own lives depend on, and it's often a one-off situation. You know, the thing has never been done before. It's often replicating some circumstance in which somebody got killed or maimed, and so it's a weird thing to put your life on the line with that. The one that comes to mind for me was also not too long ago. We did a thing to do with tornadoes. We did a kind of a collaboration with the storm chasers, and they built these vehicles to go out and get them close to tornadoes and things. And we participated or we collaborated with them. We tested their vehicles by putting them behind a 747 and powering up the engines, at close range on these vehicles. And then our task was to design and build a portable version of that, which we made into a thing that was the size of a backpack that you could take out and unfold and get in it and be supposedly safe from a tornado. And so we designed this thing, and it was kind of like a very compact armored tent. And so I got into this and went right behind the 747, and we got it up to, the wind's up to 180 miles an hour, and I'm in this thing, and I can barely move. It just sounds like all hell is breaking loose. It's just vibrating so hard, and my whole backside, my back and my legs and my butt and everything were bruised for weeks after that because of the vibration of this armor on this thing. And I'm in there and just perfectly aware that at any minute there'd be it wouldn't be kind of like a drifting off. It'd be all of a sudden I'm going 180 miles an hour somewhere, and that means it's sort of more like a snap. And I'm like, I think I designed this well. It made sense at the time.
That's the title of the autobiography. It made sense at the time.
All right, we have